Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. I suggest you be patient because our first story might make you a little angry. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Entitled family invites themselves on a family vacation and then complains about said vacation. I, 32-year-old female, was talking with my mom the other day and mentioned a family we hadn't seen since I was about 10. She told me that after a vacation they joined us on, they decided to stop being friends with them. Here's the story. My parents planned a vacation to take me and my brother to Yellowstone when we were 8 and 10. They told the other family's parents about the vacation they were planning, and they invited themselves to go with us. They figured it'd be fun for all of us to go together as they had kids the same age as me and my brother. Not wanting to be rude to the family or cause issues, since we went to a Bible study at their house every Sunday, my parents included them in our plans. My mom warned them the cabins we're staying in were extremely rustic, no walls separating bedrooms, mismatched furniture, and small. They said that'd be fine, and had my mom book the cabin next to them. Everything seemed to be going pretty well until our vacation actually started. My parents wanted to start driving to Yellowstone fairly early. We live in Utah, so they wanted to leave around 7 or 8. The other parents didn't show up until 11, and my parents couldn't get a hold of them before this. They weren't answering their phones. So this ticked my mom off, and she asked the other parents what happened to leaving early, and they told her, "Oh, we like to sleep in on weekends." My dad told my mom to just let it go and still to try to have a good day. When we arrived, the other parents instantly turned their noses up at our accommodations and said they wouldn't be good enough for their kids. My mom told the entitled parents that she warned them they were rustic. The other parents had friends in the main part of Yellowstone and told my parents they were going to go visit them. My mom reminded them that they bought food for dinner for all of us, and the entitled parents assured my mom they'd be back for dinner at 7. So my parents cooked a really nice dinner for everyone. We had steak, potatoes, corn, dessert, and waited on the entitled parents to show up. At 8, when the family still wasn't there, they decided to eat without them, as they had no way of contacting them. We went to bed, and around midnight, the other parents showed up. They told my parents the cabins they booked weren't good enough for them, and they'd be staying with their other friends for the rest of the vacation. They also said it was a mistake to include my family on their trip because of the cabins that were booked, and they had to start driving so early in the day to accommodate us. My mom and dad had enough of their attitude and reminded them that they were the ones to join us without being invited, and said they were fine with the cabins we booked and our travel plans for leaving. They also told them they were inconsiderate for bailing on dinner and should have told them if they had no intention of having it with us. At that point, the other family left, and we never saw them again. And our second story. Don't want this saleswoman? Let me find another for you. While I was putting myself through university, this was in the mid-2000s, I was working at a bicycle shop. I can honestly say it's the best place I've ever worked. The owners treated their staff very well, so this shop retained loyal, highly capable employees that made loads of high-end sales. But what was somewhat unusual for a male-dominated industry in the mid-2000s was that there was an equal number of male and female employees. And these women were definitely the most qualified people for the job. One was an engineer for a bike company, one was for a highly successful triathlete and cross-country racer, and even one of the owners was a woman. Almost having an unrelated university degree meant that I was by far the least impressive woman working at this place. I just liked bikes. One day a man, maybe 50 to 60-ish, came into the shop. I was first on the scene. He said he was looking to buy a bike, so I started going through the usual probing questions to determine what kind of bike he was looking for. Simple questions like, did he ride on the road or trails? Even the most incapable salesperson could use the answers to these questions to point the guy in the right direction. But he seemed highly resistant to talking to me or answering my questions. He finally said, "Is there someone else I could talk to?" Maybe he just didn't like my sales approach, or maybe I seemed too young to be knowledgeable. But since he didn't even give me a chance to prove myself and seemed to be staring longingly at my busy male colleagues, I had a hunch that he didn't think a woman was capable of selling him a bike. So I smiled and said, "Of course." Lucky for me, there weren't any idle male employees in sight, So I grabbed one of the other women that I worked with, quietly letting her know my suspicions about this guy. Before I was even out of earshot, I heard this man agitatedly say, "I need someone else." Suspicions confirmed. So we purposely seek out yet another extremely capable female employee to help this man. When he sees her approach, he shouts, "Just let me speak to your manager." So in struts the owner, who's very eager to join our malicious compliance stunt with a beaming smile on her face. "I'm the owner. What can I do to help you today, sir?" The utter defeat on his face is something I'll never forget. And our last story. Karen doesn't realize I'm a citizen, tries to enslave wife and I with fake debts. Basically, my wife and I had just immigrated back to the U.S. and needed jobs and a place to stay. We thought we'd struck gold when a fabulously wealthy woman hired myself as a groundskeeper and maintenance guy and my wife as a cook and maid for her elderly parents. The pay was low, but part of it involved being able to live rent-free in the second house on the estate. The elderly couple were extremely senile, but still the sweetest old folks you can imagine. It was a really nice property, so for a few months everything was great. Then about 3 months in, my wife noticed the pantry, which was itself bigger than our living room, was not being restocked by the grocery delivery company that normally did these things. We contacted our employer, who flew into a rage that managing that sort of thing was our responsibility, so she had canceled the delivery service without telling us. It became apparent that she fully expected us to notice and take care of it ourselves. When I asked her how she expected us to buy groceries for her parents when she didn't even tell us she'd canceled the service, she became extremely irate. Direct quote, "Then why the F do I sign a check to each of you every week for?" Yeah. This bee earnestly thought we should be using our personal paychecks, which were not very big, to pay for her parents' upkeep. After much deliberation, she grudgingly left us a credit card to go out and buy groceries for her parents, which added to our workload at no extra pay. But we didn't have anywhere else to stay and no other job lined up, so we just dealt with it. Well, another few months go by and she contacts us again. She wants us to sign something. The paperwork shows up, and it's requests for medical documentation from an insurance company. The chick wants us to attach our timesheets to it, sign it, and send it back to the insurance company. Well, I read it, and it becomes apparent that she has elder care insurance to pay for live-in nursing services and has told them we are nurses so she can try to get them to pay our wages. I contact her and inform her that we have not provided medical care, are not licensed to, and will not fill out paperwork. Cue mother of all crap storms. Karen goes nuts, screaming into the phone about how much she's done for us and we owe her. How she'll report that we're neglecting her parents, then call immigration on us and have us deported. I don't think she ever realized I'm a citizen and my wife immigrated legally. I tell her that what she's asking us to do is fraud and that I'd rather get fired than arrested for a felony. I tell her she has 90 days to find a replacement for us and we'll be moving out. Things devolve into her screaming about how much money she has and how she's besties with the cops and has a bunch of expensive lawyers to sue me with. I suggest she ask one of those lawyers how they feel about defending her for insurance fraud and hang up. My wife and I continue our services for the old folks while looking for a new place because they were actually super nice and the situation wasn't their fault. They were also very senile, mistaking us for other people they knew, forgetting they had kids, etc., so they can't be held accountable for their daughter's behavior as they lack any ability to intervene. Then, instead of a paycheck, I get a bill for the last 8 months of rent and a note that she isn't paying our wages until we pay her back for everything we owe her, plus interest. She had valued the rent of the second house provided in our contract at more than she paid us monthly, so we'd never actually be able to pay it off. Yeah, this bee actually tried to make us into indentured servants. So without responding, I continue performing my duties, studiously keeping logs on her hours and retaining all the receipts for how much more we owed her. 90 days goes by without a paycheck. We purchased groceries using the card she provided, and she added to our debts. We documented everything. About a week before the 90 days, we contact 2 government agencies. First, the State Department of Labor to report exploitation. Second, Adult Protective Services to inform them that an elderly couple that requires caretaking are going to no longer have caretakers and that their daughter has refused to provide it. Then we call her and inform her she's going to be receiving some phone calls from these agencies shortly and should probably contact her attorney. There was about a 60-second dead silence on the phone, then hysterical laughter, and she hung up. Okay, not the response I expected, but F it. One more week and we're gone. 8 hours later, she shows up in the driveway in a rental car. This bee bought a one-way plane ticket to come out to the estate and report us to the cops for trespassing on the property. This, of course, doesn't work because we have a tenancy contract, and if she wants us gone, she has to utilize the legal eviction process. She then tries to claim we're illegal aliens, which a quick glance in our wallets at our IDs by the cops proves false. She's then starting to shriek at them about if they don't know who she is or how expensive her lawyers are. The cops look that unique combination of irritated and amused that cops dealing with some dumb crap they aren't allowed to comment on get, and advise her not to talk to us or attempt to enter or go near the guest house. She moves into their house that night and presumably takes over the duties. I'd go out on the balcony every day for the week before I left to drink my coffee and smile as I stared across the big, luxurious lawn to see her standing in the picture window, arms crossed, glaring death at me. To make a long story short, the expensive lawyer she has convinced her to pay our back wages with additional interest for violating state labor laws by withholding them. Turns out trying to enforce actual slavery is still illegal after all. Who knew? See, her expensive lawyer can do their job perfectly. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.